One thing that I, just attempt to remain current, one of the things I was thinking about is, before coming down here today, was whether or not the election results have affected your investment strategies at all, or whether it's just as important to you as, say, the breakup with Britney Spears and Kevin Federline. Maybe, John, we can start with you.
I think the Britney Spears thing was very important. For angel investment, I don't think that this is going to have a significant effect. Most of the businesses we look at are, everything's affected by the political climate one way or the other, I suppose, but not a significant amount. The only effect was somebody was trying to sponsor a bill that would give a tax credit for angel-level investments. And she was defeated in western Pennsylvania on the other day. So that's about the only thing I can think of.
Bob, would you be able to give some thoughts on that?
It really doesn't have any impact on us. The only thing that that really affects us is the long-term prospects of the technology industry and the worldwide economy. One of the things that, as an aside, is our businesses are much more international now than national, even though they're based in the U.S., and I think we tend to be a little short-sighted in this country. We become very focused on the U.S., but the U.S. is, it's the largest IT market, but it's a relative, it's well. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that one works. You just have to put it up.
Just pick it up.
Can you hear me now? As I was saying, we really look at the worldwide economy, the worldwide growth of tech, and I don't think anything in this election really makes any significant difference to what we'll be doing.
Hey, Chris.
No, I would concur with that. I think the economy. What I've noticed is that the room's full. There are a lot of interesting opportunities out there. We've seen, I think, more deal flow in the last 4 or 5 months than I've seen in my 4 years of doing this. I think the prospects are good.
Thank you. I'll give you some of my biases. Obviously, politics starts on a local landscape, and we had a lot of interesting things happening in the state of Pennsylvania. A big Senate race with Casey and Santorum, and for venture capitalists, that really had a relatively large impact because Casey was the state treasurer, and him winning the election vacates that seat, and someone has to go in and replace that seat, and there's a 2-year term left, 2 years left on the term of that seat, and that seat takes a position on every one of the state pension boards who actively invest in our venture funds. So for me that had a gigantic impact. I'll state my bias. I'm a Republican, but I supported and voted for Casey because I felt that was going to have the biggest potential impact to the venture community in the Pennsylvania, in the Commonwealth, and I think it's played out that way. It was an interesting campaign because initially when Casey started, he was so far behind Santorum. All of us venture capitalists who supported him were sitting there saying, well, if we write him a check, we're going to get the benefit whether he wins or loses. If he loses, he'll still know that we wrote him a check, and he's still the state treasurer, and he's still on the pension boards. If he wins, we're going to have an opportunity to influence his replacement on the pension board. So it sort of looked like a win-win scenario. There's also, I encourage you to take a look at the NVCA site, which is the National Venture Capital Association. They have a very active political action committee that supported a lot of different candidates in a lot of different venues on initiatives that are very important to all of you. Things like the valuation of stock options for young and small companies, which is still an active thing that all of us think about as we're funding these businesses. So I think there are some small micro issues that are being properly addressed by our local politicians, and I don't think there's been any dramatic impact as a result of the national landscape of the election, but for me it was a big impact in the Commonwealth.
Thank you. results of the election, unfortunately, have a significant, major, and overwhelming impact on types of investments we make. And I say unfortunately because we are involved in renewable energy, lasers, optics, many of these areas, but particularly in renewable energy, which is key to the health of the world. There's been quite a controversy over the last many years on how fast renewable energy has grown, particularly solar energy. Much of this has been political, which is a wide word which I think is difficult to define. The negatives that I see in the results of the election relate to a catalyst for championing activities of terrorists. And that creates instability in many countries that have been not too stable to begin with, that were countries that were getting involved in entrepreneurship, getting involved in solar energy and many other activities. The election has sent a message to the world that we have ambivalent thinking and we're going backwards by decades.
It's interesting how different portfolios have different perspectives. Working in business services and looking for dominant, disruptive, really dramatically improved processes and abilities for people to do services, we don't envision that our interest or your ability to deliver the goods is affected by the political climate in the near term. So, our portfolio, our needs, our interests, and our desire to place money with you has not changed in the tech-enabled services area.